Good evening, everyone. I am so excited and honored to welcome you all to Echoing Green's 2022 Social Innovation Challenge. I am Dr. Kimberly Osagie, the child of Nigerian immigrants, a longtime education innovator and grant maker, and humbly, my ancestors' wildest dreams, as are so many of the leaders that you will meet today. I'm the Vice President of Programs at Echoing Green, where I lead our teams that build our applicant pipeline, disperse capital, grow capacity, and build community with hundreds of change makers worldwide. And if you're new to Echoing Green on the line, we identify next generation leaders with bold ideas for transforming the world, and we invest deeply in the growth of their ideas and their leadership through a global fellowship program. This year, I'm proud to announce that we are celebrating 35 years of Echoing Green's incredible impact. Our community of nearly 1,000 leaders across 86 countries are boldly advancing innovative solutions to address the world's most urgent challenges, like increasing access to life-saving healthcare, combating mass incarceration across the globe, creating better and more equitable outcomes for our communities worldwide. It's really our privilege to be a part of these innovators' journeys. So we are all here today for our 5th annual Social Innovation Challenge, and we're so proud to continue this partnership with Barclays to support emerging social innovators. I'll give you a sense of what's been happening before this moment. Over the last 5 weeks, we've had the pleasure to work with the founders of 12 dynamic organizations. They've been exploring a key question: what will it take to get to a future where everyone has the opportunity to thrive? And along the way, these entrepreneurs have gotten to know one another through hands-on community building and strategic advising sessions with Echoing Green and Barclays staff. So in the aftermath of 2 extraordinarily difficult years and amid an ongoing pandemic, these founders here today have been collectively driving towards thriving. And so today's pitch competition is really a culmination and a celebration. And I'm excited that we will all get to hear from these leaders very, very soon. But first, I want to give a special thanks to the Barclays team for their partnership on this program, particularly the illustrious John Kenny, the illustrious Oksana Stasiuk, and Tokes Sotande Peters. Thank you, each of you, for your support on our Social Innovation Challenge in particular, and throughout our pipeline building, thoughtful programming. We couldn't have pulled any of this off without you. All right. We are thrilled to be joined this evening by 3 pitch competition judges, one who I just mentioned from Barclays, Tokes Sotande Peters, who we'll hear more from in a bit, Danielle Christine Toussaint, and Jordan Lexton. I'll tell you a bit about who these incredible judges are, and then I'll pass to Tokes for some remarks from Barclays. So starting with Tokes. Tokes Sotande Peters is a global relational director at Barclays, and as part of the healthcare and consumer retail team, he partners with clients and colleagues to deliver Barclays corporate banking solutions. And he's also the proud co-chair of the Barclays Embrace Black Professional Forum Americas, BPF, where he partners with leadership to execute their long-term vision to attract, retain, and develop diverse candidates to Barclays and support the career development of BPF members. Welcome, Tokes. Danielle Christine Toussaint is a storyteller, a strategist, and social impact leader. She is the Chief External Affairs Officer at New School's Venture Fund, where she leads brand storytelling and engagement, manages strategic partnerships, and advances the organization's mission to reimagine public education so all children have the opportunity to succeed. Welcome, dear Danielle. And last but certainly not least, Jordan Lexton is a social entrepreneur, a 2015 Echoing Green Fellow, and the founder of Drive Change, a social enterprise creating quality employment pathways for formerly incarcerated young people through the food and hospitality industries. Currently, Jordan is an executive coach for Next Level Nonprofit, a 6-month incubator for nonprofit organizations at a critical growth stage that really need the capacity support to help them deepen their sustainability and their impact. Welcome, welcome, Jordan. Thank you in advance, Tokes, Jordan, Danielle, for the careful decisions you will make this evening. I do not envy you. And with that, it is my pleasure to hand it over to Tokes.
Thank you very much, Kimberly, and good afternoon. As you've heard, my name is Tokes Peters, and my role at Barclays is that I am the director within our corporate bank here. I also, as you heard, co-chair the Barclays Black Professionals Resource Group now. We've evolved. And I'm thrilled to be taking part in this culminating event of the 5th annual Social Innovation Challenge. First and foremost, I hope you and your loved ones are doing well during this time. As to the reason we're gathering, I'd like to personally welcome the 12 talented Social Innovation Challenge finalists who are here with us today. We thank you for the truly remarkable work you're doing in advancing equity and helping people and communities to thrive. We're looking forward to hearing your pitches and learning more about the work that you're doing as we look to make our decisions. A few key messages I wanted to really share from my own personal and Barclays perspective. At Barclays, we're committed to supporting diversity in all its forms, and we believe that every individual should have the opportunity to fulfill their potential and achieve their personal and professional goals, something I'm very passionate about. A key piece of our race at work efforts is the role we play in supporting our communities. We know that to have great impact, we need to partner with organizations like Echoing Green, who are doing a huge amount of work to help support us to scale and elevate leaders of color in particular. So we're really proud that Barclays is able to support the work that Echoing Green are helping to build in terms of on-ramps to social innovation through programs just like this. As a society, if we're going to actually see the progress towards inclusive growth, we're going to need social entrepreneurs who drive so much impact in the communities across the country and around the world. And I have no doubt we'll be hearing from some of the next generation of change makers this afternoon. Barclays' partnership with Echoing Green is helping to surface and accelerate the work of social innovators that are tackling injustices and advancing equity. A key aspect of our partnership with Echoing Green is the level of engagement from our colleagues. You see me present today, and you've maybe seen a number of my colleagues in the build up to this particular session today. So we're something we're really proud about. We've partnered with Echoing Green for decades in that time. Hundreds of volunteers from Barclays have worked with fellows to help them further their missions and their visions. The Social Innovation Challenge has been no different to the overall engagement that we've done with Echoing Green. Ahead of tonight's events, Barclays volunteers have helped these entrepreneurs in refining their pitches. I know my colleagues were impressed by what they heard and are looking forward to seeing the real outputs of those interactions tonight. To that end, on behalf of Barclays, I'd like to again welcome this group of inspiring innovators that you'll hear from shortly. Crucially, their work is centered in building a more equitable and inclusive society. For that, I'd like to thank you. Thank you truly for the difference that you're making for all of us each and every day. I'll be on the judging panel, so you know that I have an evening of difficult decisions ahead of me, but I embrace that challenge and I continue to thank you all. Thank you to everyone for tuning in particular to this event as well. Not only, to hopefully vote on some successful candidates, but to, show your commitment to some of the efforts that they've made even in the build up to today. You're in for a treat, and I think you're certainly going to feel incredibly inspired. I know I already do. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Dr. Ricardo Hara. Ricardo, over to you.
Tokes. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. My name is Ricardo Hara. I'm a proud member of Echoing Green's programs team, and I've had the privilege of working closely with these incredible 12 leaders over the last month. Time really flies. Tonight's pitch will consist of 12 pitches divided into three different categories. Each leader will have 2 minutes to make their pitch. And to ensure we stay on our tight schedule, we will ring a bell when those 2 minutes are up. We're going to play that sound for you right now. Can we hear that just one more time? Beautiful. After all the pitches are done, our judges will enter a separate room to deliberate. And during that deliberation, the rest of us will tune into a fireside chat with Dr. Kimberly Osagia, who you just met, and 2021 Echoing Green Fellow and founder of Black Outside, Alex Bailey. Following the fireside chat, we'll announce our winners. And what's so great about tonight's event is all of the leaders will walk away with a cash prize. Each category will award one winner who will receive $20,000. Then, audience members, you watching right now, we're gonna wanna hear from you. You'll have the opportunity to vote for your favorite remaining pitch across all the categories to receive the Viewer's Choice Award. This leader will receive a prize of $18,000. And all remaining leaders will receive $9,000. And now, what you've all tuned in for. It's my honor to introduce the 12 leaders who will be pitching their solutions in this year's Social Innovation Challenge. At this time, I'm going to ask that all of our leaders join us on camera, but to please stay on mute. These leaders have been working incredibly hard over the last month to prepare for this evening, and I'm so excited to introduce them. Tonight's program will consist of 12 pitches categorized by 3 categories: thriving bodies and minds, thriving communities, and thriving futures. This is also the order that pitches will go in. Be sure to take notes and follow along so you can vote for your favorite pitch for the Viewer's Choice Award. All right? And now we're ready to begin the pitches. First up is the Thriving Bodies and Minds category. From tackling the impacts of climate change on underserved communities to ending period poverty, the founders presenting in this group are leading organizations whose work centers on improving the physical and/or mental wellness of community members. I'm going to ask my colleagues to go ahead and help me set our 2-minute timer. Now, I'm happy and proud to introduce our very first presenter. Alexia Leclerc, founder of Start Empowerment. Take it away, Alexia.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Alexia, and I'm a grassroots environmental justice organizer in Texas and the co-founder of Start Empowerment. When I was little, my mother taught me that we aren't separate from each other and the land. Everything is sacred. And so when I wasn't able to leave the house due to air pollution or was being yelled at for playing under the acid rain, I decided to take action. I organized for the past 9 years, passed regulation, federal legislation, yet communities of color are still continuously excluded, indigenous wisdom not valued, and our economic system continues to be driven by profit. Toxic tank farms that cause cancer were closed down and new ones were built this year. And that is how I came to education. It is the foundation of our society. Only when we are educated on the climate crisis can we take action, but not just climate education, specifically environmental justice education, centering BIPOC leadership, knowledge, and solutions. I went to environmental justice expositions, talked to hundreds of climate education org, and not a single one of them was led by BIPOC communities or centered justice. And that is what we do at Start Empowerment. Using critical pedagogy framework, we create environmental justice curriculum with organizers and frontline communities. We implement them in public schools across New York City and Texas and are expanding. And we facilitate community training, workshops, and organizing around policy and provide funding for youth-led campaigns through our Climate Justice Community School. And we have done so successfully, reaching over 5,000 youth, creating young leaders that are working in their schools and their communities on projects from community gardens to address food insecurity, to fighting the North Broken Pipeline and passing policy to address the lack of clean water in Texas. And we need this because we needed it 30 years ago. The climate crisis isn't coming in the future, it's been here. And communities of color have been dying due to things from increasing hurricanes to extreme heat waves, to lead in water, to cancer from the petrochemical industry. I am currently sitting at the UN Climate Conference in Egypt, where negotiators from across the world are setting our agenda for our ability to live on Earth. And again, I realize that people don't know about the issues that BIPOC communities are facing, or the local solutions that have been implemented, or the indigenous strategies that we are working on, which is why we need global environmental justice education.
Thank you so much, Alexia. Thank you for that. Next up, we have Ariane Long, founder of Femly. Ariane, it's all yours.
26 years old, I was diagnosed with a tumor linked directly to chemicals in the pads and tampons that I was using. I later ended up on life support, fighting for my life, and lost my daughter to late-term stillbirth. Healthy products and education could have changed my outcome. The lack of access to menstrual products affects half of the world's population. Bodies are seen as sexual objects, and discussion is still taboo. I realized that if condoms caused cancer, men would have a solution within the hour. So I became the change I wanted to see. I'm Ariane Long, founder and chief estrogen officer at Femly, and we're providing organic period care in restrooms worldwide. Patriarchy, poverty, and sexism cause many to go without healthier products and education. Black and brown women like myself are more likely to be diagnosed with cervical cancer and other illnesses. Last year, I met a woman facing homelessness who was using a sock as a sanitary pad. And then I invented a patent pending dispenser to provide our organic pads and tampons along with customized health content. Femly addresses the root causes of period care disparities on a long-term basis, and we're ending stigma. We're partnering with school systems, hospitals, corporations, and more around the globe who purchase from us, but provide our products for free in restrooms. A video of someone using our first dispenser went viral with 70 million views last year. This proves that society is finally ready for equity and innovation. I believe in a world where no one is left behind because they can't afford healthier options. Someone that you love has a vagina and it deserves better. By voting for Femly, you're changing 100,000 lives next year and millions at scale.
Ariane, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Everyone, we are just getting started and we're starting off so strong. Next up, we have Dr. Artika Tyner, founder of Planting People, Growing Justice, Press, and Bookstore. Dr. Tyner, you ready to go?
Our organization is committed to growing futures, one book at a time and one child at a time. This is personal to me because as a civil rights attorney, many of my clients learn how to read while in prison. In fact, somehow we've created a rule of 4. When 1 in 4 American children are not reading a grade level by 4th grade, they are 4 times more likely to drop out of school. And here's the connection. They then become 3.5 times more likely to be arrested during their lifetime. This is unacceptable, but yet this is an opportunity for change where we can create new pipelines to success for our youth and work to end mass incarceration. So how do we do this? Our organization does this in 2 ways. First, through our publishing house. Through these efforts, we are ensuring that we are creating diverse books so young people can discover a joy in reading. This is the first connection to inspire our youth to read. In addition, we host writing competitions because we know when young people use their voice, they have power. We are helping to train the next generation of diverse authors. Secondly, through our bookstore, we sell books that celebrate diversity. And why does this matter? Because in real time, we're creating both mirrors and windows. Mirrors for young people of color to see a positive representation of themselves on a page of books, but also windows for all children to celebrate and build cultural connections in real time. So how can you support and how does your vote matter? You can support by investing in growing futures in real time. And how do we do that? With your support, we'll host a writing competition and help train the next diverse youth author. So together, let's plant those seeds of social change in the life of children as they learn, grow, and lead. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tyner. I should have mentioned this before, everyone, but if you want to express your love in the chat box, you are more than welcome to do that. You also have the emoji reactions at the bottom of your screen. Utilize all of those. Again, underscoring, we are off to an incredibly strong start, and we're only 3 pitches in. Next up, we have Hernan Carvante Martinez, who's the founder of Healing Ninjas Incorporated. Hernan, it's all yours.
Hello, everyone. My name is Hernan, CEO of Healing Ninjas, and I am a formerly incarcerated man who struggles with depression, anxiety, and bipolar 2 disorder. In 2018, after years of struggling through substance abuse issues, gang violence, and mental illness, I survived a suicide attempt and experienced firsthand the challenges to finding good, affordable, and culturally relevant mental health and wellness services. The questions I had at the time were, why is it so hard to find different kinds of support? Why is it so expensive? And why is it that I don't see a lot of brown and Black men taking advantage of these resources? During the pandemic, I started a podcast and Instagram platform and held Zoom conversations where I spoke to hundreds of different people and learned that I wasn't alone in my struggle to heal from trauma. I also learned that I wasn't alone in having a hard time with finding resources. And so I founded Healing Ninjas Inc., a social enterprise committed to creating a brave space for people to share their stories of healing while also pointing to the places and resources that supported them in their journeys. My goal at this time is to build a beautiful digital space for people to connect and build a community of support. And through this, I also want to prioritize and uplift resources that are led and owned by brown and Black people. Ultimately, I aim to create a marketplace for these resources so that all people, but especially brown and Black men coming home from prison as well, can access affordable supports through affiliate and partnership programs. Through an investment in Healing Ninjas, you are supporting us to develop a new website to host these resources and partnerships that we are creating. And an investment will also help remind our small but mighty community that there are people out there who want to make sure that not another person suffers in silence. I thank you for your time. And I also hope that many of you would be willing to join the Healing Ninjas community after this and help us begin a healing revolution throughout this country. Thank you very much.
Hernan, thank you so much for closing out our first category, Thriving Bodies and Minds, so strongly. We're going to keep that momentum going, y'all. And we're seeing the love in the chat box and in emoji reactions. Keep that coming all through this experience. Thank you all again for being here. Again, what a strong start to our time together. So that concludes all the founders in our Thriving Bodies and Minds category. And next up, we have the Thriving Communities category. From eliminating food and economic insecurity for Black families and farmers, to equipping BIPOC students with the power to design their learning, the leaders presenting in this group are scaling organizations that directly build and or strengthen community-wide support systems. Now, I'd love to introduce our very first Thriving Communities presenter, Allie Anderson. Allie is the founder of Feed Black Futures. Allie, ready to go?
Ready. If I listed all the reasons that Black mothers and caregivers in California, especially those impacted by incarceration, don't have access to reliable, fresh, affordable food, I'd probably eat up everyone else's speaking time. But when the pandemic exacerbated every single one of those reasons, I created Feed Black Futures in response. And in the last 2 years, it's become clear to me that this is an ongoing need in the Golden State. But we weren't alone. When we put out an initial crowdfunding campaign to raise $10,000 at the start of the pandemic to feed 20 mamas impacted by incarceration, community members sent in 9 times as much. With this $90,000, we expanded to feeding 50 families in the greater Los Angeles area, all sourced from Black and brown farms. However, to address the systems of food apartheid in these communities, sometimes known as food deserts, we knew we needed to teach a man to fish, or rather, teach a mama to farm. And that's how Feed Black Futures began, with a mission to create a world where Black people have access to high quality fresh food and the means and skills to produce it. Today, we source food from 8 Black and Brown farms utilizing sustainable agriculture and deliver it to 175 Black mamas and caregivers, plus 6 reentry homes all throughout California. We also build folks' capacity to grow their own food, to sell or eat by building gardens and facilitating farmer training and food justice education. We know the people closest to the problem are the closest to the solution. That's why I lead a team of Black women and genderqueer staff, all community members impacted by incarceration and food insecurity, including Miss M, who has recently started selling herbs from her garden and is in the process of buying farmland to support her family thanks to the programming. In 2023, we hope to continue doing this and more. With your support, we can expand to 3 more farms and 36 more families and start a jobs pipeline program to employ community members to build gardens. COVID may be receding from the headlines, but the critical niche we fill is as urgent as ever. As Ms. M will often remind me, to free ourselves, we must feed ourselves. And with your support, we can do just that. Thank you.
Ali, thank you so much. Again, continue that momentum. Strong start to this new category. Y'all, pretty great so far, right? Thank you again, Ali. Next up, we have Jael Lopes, co-founder of Diaspora Academy. Jael, you're up.
How was your high school experience? Did it provide you with the education and a nurturing environment to become a global citizen and the next leader of your community? Did it prepare you to design your own personal and professional path? Do you know that only 19% of students in grades 9 through 12 report being excited about their classes in Rhode Island? Hi, I'm one of the co-founders of Diaspora Academy. Diaspora Academy is an organization founded on developing a school to address the inequities within our educational system, particularly for our Black and Brown students. Students and families in Rhode Island and across the nations are demanding for us to bring innovation and collective action to dismantle an educational system that has never worked for our Black and Brown students. Diaspora Academy, inspired by the values and the culture of historically Black colleges and universities, will draw on the strength of the surrounding community to deliver a rigorous, effective, and engaging educational experience for all students by designing for social change. Furthermore, the lack of HBCUs in the New England region creates a void in knowledge, culture, and economic advancement for communities of color. Therefore, our model will serve as a conduit for liberatory design thinking. We believe that creating this educational culture and model delivery will empower youth to unpack and engage in understanding self and their community needs in order to create innovation and a sustainable solution to disrupt systemic oppression. Join us in creating a new educational culture that inspires and uplifts all students. Thank you.
Jael, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Everyone, again, how amazing are these leaders, right? How amazing are these leaders? Definitely blessed to be in their presence. Next up, we have Letitia Vincent. Hi, Letitia. Letitia is the founder of the Black Liberation Fund, and I'm going to hand it over to you.
Peace and greetings from Charleston, South Carolina. I say that to say because Charleston, South Carolina, 1 in 4 Black folks who have come into the United States of America came in through the port of Charleston, South Carolina. Generationally, we face a problem of incarceration and criminalization of Black folks. Just last year, over the pandemic, 1 in 4 Black folks or people from prisons were One in 4 people were paroled. And through that, we saw a problem in 2020 in which I ended up bailing out $1 million for people from jails and prisons in that year. Excuse me, y'all. Black Liberation Fund is focused on reducing the stigma of incarceration through education, through support for record clearing, through support for bails, pardons, and paroles. We are dedicated to getting ourselves into a community who cares and supports each other, and are asking funding for our record clearing program, in which families who have not seen a redemption or restitution in their issues since the 80s and 90s, from the crack epidemic and everything else in this state, still face 1,000 barriers and due to incarceration for jobs, housing, food, and even day-to-day care for children and their day-to-day safety. We are asking that Echoing Green support us in trying to deliver as many folks out of their predicaments as possible by giving a restorative community care with our classes, and also holding expungement clinics and events in which we invite community members to change their situations by participating and learning to do better by that. We provide full legal support and full fee support. We continue and are going to continue to expand this project across the state in South Carolina. Thank you and have a great day.
Tisha, thank you so much. I hope that you were, maybe it was hard to see, but you're seeing the love in the chat box, right? Not just for your leadership, but also for the work that you're leading, right? And oftentimes when we're leaders, we're passionate about the work that we do, right? It comes through. And I hope the audience is feeling that, not just now, but for all of our pitches so far this afternoon. Thank you so much, Tisha, for again, continuing to maintain that strong momentum for our pitches. I'm gonna welcome the last pitch for our category, Thriving Communities category, and that is Dr. Sonita Singh, who is the founder of iStart. Dr. Singh, I'm going to pass it over to you.
All right, guys. I want you to imagine being the mayor of a major US city like New Orleans. You've inherited one of the highest rates of crime, murder, and poverty of all US cities. You have a limited budget and your community wants you to get tougher on crime, but stop putting their children in jail and build a future for them. You've tried everything, but you are faced with long-standing and complex problems and nothing really seems to work. How do you get from point A to point B? My name is Dr. Sonita Singh. I'm the CEO and founder of iStart, a data science nonprofit. My life's work is to make global change for poor people by identifying the structures that produce poverty and use technology to dismantle them. As a small child, I was surrounded by violence and devastated by poverty. During my travels to support this work, I saw the same experiences in the eyes of children in New Orleans, Bangladesh, Brazil, Uganda, and more. I proved through my research that the systems that contribute to marginalization include systemic oppression and deep structural inequities created by policies and economic behaviors that destroy lives and slowly and insidiously with clear patterns over time. But iStart is transforming cities and building a platform that analyzes decades of community oppression to uncover the gaps that lead to inequity. By searching food deserts on our platform, you'll see an accurate timeline of all the historical events and policy changes that led to your city's food disparities. Maybe a mall was relocated, then nearby grocery stores closed and people with low mobility no longer have access. These are things that iStart tracks and reveals, but believe me, we are covering all the structural inequity bases. Mind you, the business case for building structural inequity is not just warm and fuzzy, it is good business. In the next 5 to 7 years, 50% of the working population will be Black and brown and would drive more than $5 trillion in GDP revenue if the racial income gap is closed. We hope that you will vote for us because funding this work is funding the rebuilding of cities across this country and others. Thank you.
No, thank you, Dr. Singh. Thank you so much for closing out. So again, closing out so strongly in our last pitch for our Thriving Communities. I am finding so much joy in seeing in the chat box. We need this for all of our participants, right? The challenges that our participants, our leaders are working to address is just so important. So important. So as I said, that's the conclusion of our Thriving Communities category, but we are not done yet. Thank you to Ali, Jael, Letitia, Dr. Singh for your powerful pitches once again. And let's transition over to our last, but certainly not the least group, and that is the Thriving Futures category. Thriving Futures. The work of these leaders centers on improving the future outcomes of community members, from reducing recidivism rates for formerly incarcerated individuals to expanding wealth and opportunity in Black communities. These leaders are creating thriving futures in their community and beyond. Now, I'm proud to introduce our first Thriving Futures presenter, Ahmed Badr, founder of Narratio. Ahmed, ready to go? You're up.
Ahmed, our house was bombed last night. My father spoke these words in Baghdad, Iraq on July 26, 2006, just 2 weeks before my 8th birthday. A week later, we moved to Syria and applied for refugee status. After over a year of interviews, we received a phone call. We had 4 one-way tickets to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. We arrived in the US as refugees on May 19th, 2008. What comes to mind when you hear that word refugee? Chances are it's images of war, violence, or desperate humans on dangerous boats. And while it's important to acknowledge the tragedies that these images represent, we have to realize that they don't represent the full story. There are now over 100 million displaced individuals around the world. That's more than 1% of the global population. How can we learn about these individuals if the dominant depiction is monolithic and devoid of any agency? This is why I founded Narratio, which runs the only US-based fellowship focused on activating and amplifying the creative power of resettled refugee youth by investing in them as leaders and as cultural producers. Over the past 4 years, we've worked with 57 fellows, reaching more than 2.5 million globally. The program links together a local community center who helps us recruit the fellows, an artist in residence who's always an immigrant or refugee themselves, and a university that supports fellows across educational transitions. Together, they form the year-long Narratio Fellowship, which culminates in a series of public engagements at narrative-shaping institutions like the Metropolitan Museum, National Geographic, Christie's, among others. And now we can scale the program via the powerful work of our fellows. We're building a new American curriculum made up of creative work by resettled refugee youth and are in conversation with the Harvard Graduate School of Education and the National Council of Social Studies teachers to make this a reality. To do this, we need your help. Funding from this competition would go directly towards launching pilots of the new American curriculum. We're also looking for fellowship collaborators across cultural and educational institutions. Let's revolutionize how the stories of refugees are presented across the US and the world. Thank you very much.
Ahmed, thank you, thank you, thank you. Changing narratives, changing futures, thriving futures. Thank you so much for that. And again, continuing this momentum of these really powerful pitches, right? Gets me in a good way. I'm gonna welcome our next leader, next participant, and that is Daniel Howe. And Daniel is the founder of the Earnest House LLC. Daniel, you ready to go?
I believe so. Hello, my name is Danny Howe, born and raised out of Tucson, Arizona, and I'm a proud member of the Cherokee Nation. I own and operate homes for men and women transitioning from incarceration, suffering from substance abuse, or facing homelessness. Growing up, I didn't have stable housing, and my mother with 3 children moved around a lot. So by the age of 18, I was facing over 60 years in the state prison system. After serving a 4-year sentence and upon my release is when I felt that my life sentence truly began. I was told no for housing and employment opportunities and even state aid. I felt hopeless at times and began to revert to old ways, and ultimately was rearrested a few years after my release, which is the statistic that 1 in 3 released inmates recidivate within just a few years. Tired of the same life choices and outcomes, I felt that something just had to change. And this is what drove me to start the Earnest House. I wanted to provide a space where people could get a shower, a good night's sleep, and face the next day fresh. And this was something that I didn't have and would have greatly benefited from. So we offer safe and stable housing for hundreds of men and women each year. And we do this by providing clean and sober homes with a bed and everything needed for over 27 individuals every day. We have computers for residents to use on site with free Wi-Fi, and all of the other utilities are included. We do random drug testing. We have weekly chores to be completed by each resident. And we also require a weekly house meeting where everyone gets together to discuss housing questions and concerns. We have donated clothing and personal hygiene items on site if needed. And we also have 24-hour on-site staff with lived experience, which allows our clients and staff to build trusting relationships. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we had to double our capacity due to the release of non-dangerous and non-violent inmates. So our goal is to break the cycle of recidivism and to provide opportunities that I didn't have. We aim to create legacy impact in the lives of our residents and their loved ones. We currently have a wait list, and any immediate funding would go directly into expanding of bed capacity I wish there was more time to tell you just one of our many success stories. Thank you.
No, Daniel, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your story and for that pitch. And again, continuing this momentum of just speaking to leadership and addressing these important challenges that need to be addressed, right? Thank you again, Daniel. Our next leader and participant I'd like to welcome is Emaloki Irobe, founder of Represent Black Girls. Emaloki, welcome. It's all yours.
How young is old enough to be arrested at school? For Black girls, that age is about 5 to 6. Nationally, Black girls are 31% of those suspended, 43% of those arrested at school, yet make up only 17% of the student body population. This is due to a racist perception of Black girls called adultification. Researchers at Georgetown found that adults perceived Black girls as less innocent. And even in the age bracket of 5 to 9, they are seen as more independent than their white peers. So they are punished harshly for things like talking back, rolling their eyes, and having a tantrum. This is what happened to Kaya Rowe. At age 6, she was handcuffed and arrested in school for a tantrum. And since then, she's afraid of going to school and has developed extreme PTSD, separation anxiety, night terrors, and bedwetting. Her experience and doubts of countless other Black girls must end. That is the goal of my organization, Represent Black Girls. We train lawyers to represent Black girls in matters involving law enforcement due to issues at school and provide them with mental health support after these traumatic events. We track these incidents across the country in order to raise awareness and gather data on its effect on the lives of Black children. By working with school districts to understand the way adultification bias shows up and discouraging the use of police in matters of school misconduct, we are dismantling the school to prison pipeline for Black girls. Each year, we will train over 300 advocates with legal and mental health expertise to support Black girls in need. And by matching advocates to girls, we are providing an army dedicated to their physical and mental well-being and ensuring they have the carefree childhood all children deserve. Join me in representing Black girls in accessing a thriving future. I experienced adultification, but today I am an attorney and I represent Black girls.
Emaloki, thank you so, so much. I'm trying to find the right emoji reactions for all of these because my emotions are ranging. I'm like snapping fingers for all of our participants, right? I'm like misting up a little bit. It's like, this is amazing. Thank you, Emaloki, so much for your pitch. And closing out our Thriving Futures group, last but certainly not the least, I'd like to welcome Marlo Renscher. And Marlo is the founder of Tech Founder Academy. Marlo, ready to go?
Thank you. Tech Founder Academy expands wealth and opportunity in Black communities. We work to shift the proportion of Black women-founded businesses from low profit and low employment sectors to high growth tech companies. Venture capital, accelerators, incubators, and other structures that support high growth tech founders tend to be built for young white men. High growth startups are economic powerhouses. They are less than 1% of all companies, but they generate 1 out of every 10 new jobs each year. Tech startups can make millions in revenue annually with double-digit growth rates. We need more tech startups to be founded by Black women. Black women are starting businesses at a rate of 6 times the national averages, but they generate revenues of just 1/10 of the average business. I'm Dr. Marlo Renscher, and I founded 3 tech companies, coached hundreds of startups, and made significant research and practical contributions towards finding the best way to support Black women tech founders. Tech Founder Academy produces immersive, research-backed games that shift the entrepreneurial experience for Black women tech founders to be dynamic, effective, and fun. We've already supported over 50 Black women tech founders in their earliest stages. One of our founders is developing an app to transform the typical foster care experience from a bureaucratic, frustrating mess to one that is centered on the child and aligns everyone involved on that child's success. She herself is a product of the foster care system, and she now has the opportunity to transform it. Our entrepreneurial game currently serves a maximum of 50 founders each year. You We can help to scale our game to reach at least 10 times that number, and you can help us do it. With your vote, we will have the funding to support more Black women tech founders whose ideas can change the world. Thank you for your time, your attention, and your action.
Marlo, thank you for closing us out so strongly. And let me tell you all, I don't know how the judges are going to do this because they have an incredibly challenging, some incredibly challenging decisions to make, right? Whew. Thank you again, Ahmed, Daniel, Emaloki, Marlo, for the incredibly strong finish. And everyone, thanks to all of our leaders. Can we just pause for a second and just, again, give love to all of our leaders who pitched here this afternoon, showed in the chat box, little emoji reactions. Like I said, judges, it's going to be tough, but we believe in you, right? As we close things out, I also want to encourage you all, audience, to finish jotting down those reflection notes as you reflect on all of our participants y'all just heard from, right? And we are going to pivot just a little bit. Like I said, our judges have a very difficult decision to hit. And while our judges are deliberating, I'm excited to introduce our two speakers for our fireside chat. First, I'd like to welcome back Dr. Kimberly Osagie, who we met earlier, who's our Echoing Greens Vice President of Programs. Welcome back, Dr. Osagie. And she will be in conversation with 2021 fellow Alex Bailey. Alex is the founder and executive director of Black Outside, Inc., an organization that aims to reconnect Black youth to nature. From summer overnight camps to community gardening, Black Outside offers Black youth a range of programming that helps them experience the joy and beauty of the outdoors while affirming their identities, their cultures, and histories. Black Outside imagines a world in which Black youth see the outdoors as a space to experience joy, love, liberation. Alex, I love that. That was beautiful. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And I'm going to hand it over to you two.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Hara, dear Ricardo, and truly amazing pitches, everyone. I do not envy the judges right now, and I was lighting up the chat, just rooting for each and every one of you. So can't wait to see the outcome. Alex, welcome. I am very happy to talk to you about your impact, and to our audience. Alex and I are gonna talk for the next 20 minutes or so as our judges deliberate, and we will take questions from you towards the end of this chat. So feel free to jot down your questions or drop them in the chat as we go. Alex, we have to start with an Echoing Green favorite. So you know what's coming. At Echoing Green, we often use a phrase called the moment of obligation. And we use that to refer to the specific time when someone feels compelled to act. So can you tell us about yours? What moment or moments inspired you or sparked your interest in the outdoors and this bold idea?
Yeah, thank y'all so much for this time. So before I jump in to answer that question, I do, again, just really want to affirm and shout y'all out for those amazing pitches. You know, we consider ourselves a toddler organization. So, but it seems like yesterday and like 50 years ago that we were at the start stage. So, so much has happened since we started and launched in 2019. But I just want to make space. So like, if y'all could just do me a favor, just collectively like, because you did great, and just exhale and make space for that. Pitching is not easy. Pitching is like, I feel like very metacognitive experience where like, did I do right? Did I do bad? Did I do good? I don't know, right? I don't get like, you don't get live feedback right away, especially virtually. So I just want to shout y'all out. So, and thank y'all for this time. Yeah, so for me, I had two moments of obligation that took place. The first, I was prior to launching Black Outside, I was a leadership coach and Teach for America, MTLD if there's any alums on the call. But I was there and I was at a school in a historically Black neighborhood here in San Antonio, Texas, where we are based. And I'll never forget, I was meeting with a teacher, and she was really just sad at the end of the day. And I asked her why, and she told me how her fourth graders only receive 8 minutes of recess a day. And my heart just broke. I was like, how is this okay? You know, that still, you know, we're in a more economically under-resourced neighborhood, is predominantly Black school, and here these Black students don't get a full and equitable access to just outdoor time in general, unstructured. So that made me really indignant, to be honest. And I won't repeat what was said in my head, but I'll leave that there. I was ready to go full Killmonger on the school. But you know, that happens. Shout out to Black Panther, right? If you've seen, I won't spoil anything. You got about 3 more days, all spoilers coming out. So I'll name that too. But there was that moment. And then prior to that, actually, the previous summer, I was hiking actually in the Catskill Mountains. Shout out to y'all in New York. And I remember this moment of getting to this very scenic place. Everyone was taking their IG pictures and selfies. There was about 20 people up there. And I thought to myself, I'm like, wait a second, I think I'm the only Black person in this entire park. And it just was kind of like a merging of those two moments of feeling like, what can we do to really expand diversity in the outdoors, but also really correct an error and equity around like Black youth having experienced the outdoors.
I think that's so deliciously put, both you just telling your story, but weaving in so many touch points for folks who are listening, just connecting, whether it be about education and Teach for America, Black Panther, which I still haven't seen, so thank you for not spoiling,
3 days.
or even just shouting out, you know, all the New Yorkers who are likely on the line or trying to get to New York. So just appreciate you. And acknowledging our participants. So just appreciating you already, Alex. Speaking of our pitch folks, as the wonderful innovators in this space have already shown us, their work is about building a future where all people can thrive. And we love to hear a little bit more about your own work. So walk us through some of the specific programs you have at Black Outside and how they're creating a more just future, so you're not alone in the Catskills ever again.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, to back up, you know, I think it's important to kind of cap the journey because I, you know, do remember being at the same stage that many of y'all are at. And I do just want to highlight, in between that moment of indignation in the Catskill Mountains, I actually ended up applying for Echoing Green 3 times. And I was like, I'm going to be a part of this number no matter what, I'm going to be in. So. And I share that to say it's super important for how our programs have evolved and developed, right? I started off, my background and my connection to nature was twofold. One, my grandfather was a gardener. He was the lead gardener at a community garden in our small town of Mansfield, Ohio, had beautiful roses all around his house. I did not inherit that green thumb at all. So I don't know. I have like the dying succulents in the room next to me, so I don't know what to do. But all that to say, he gave me that first connection to the natural earth. I heard a pitch, one a person say that, and that really resonated with my heart. And then secondly, I was a summer camp counselor. And so for me, I fell in love with camp. I saw how powerful and transformative it was for so many youth. And so my initial idea was, I want to start a summer camp for boys of color, give them a space of healing, give them space to just unpack and untangle from all the like toxic masculinity stuff, just cry, get all the feels, do all those things that I experienced at my camp, but in a culturally relevant way. So my initial application to Echoing Green was like this boys camp. I had the whole thing rolled out. I still have the Google document. And you know, I didn't get in. And so it made me step back and kind of think, okay, how can I pivot this? So I always start off with that to share now the evolution of our programs. It's pretty interesting that our first summer camp, we have 3 programs, which are pretty awesome. We have a program for youth impacted by incarceration, which is a year-round program called the Charles Roundtree Bloom Project. And that's actually named after a young man who was killed by San Antonio police in 2018. And his cousin had this idea and partnered with us to launch that program. So that was really powerful. And then also as we were launching, that was happening behind the scenes, discussions, collaboration, innovation, dreaming. We heard this story about the Black girl summer camp in San Antonio, out of all places, right? San Antonio is about 7 to 8% Black. So like, we're like, wait, what? And come to find out, some elders in our community has shared this story that there was this Black girl summer camp in San Antonio that started in 1924. And so when we heard that story of Black Outside, we're like, we got to revive this camp. So we spoke with some community elders at the local church where it was founded, and they approved of us trying to relaunch it. And so that is our second program, Camp Founder Girls. So I think the irony is I put this application in Echoing Green for like summer camp for boys. And the first two programs we launched over 2019 through 2020 and 2021 were not that, right? So it's all about pivoting and adjusting. And then we are launching our third program for boys now in 2022, which is called Brothers with the Land, which provides high school boys an outdoor healing space in leadership development. So those are our three programs, and collectively we have the opportunity to serve over about 270 youth per year from across Texas and actually across the US. So it's really, really awesome.
As one who is a little bit afraid of the outside, I am grateful to you and your work as I think about how the trajectory of my adulthood might have shifted had I had an experience that felt culturally affirming, like the programming that you are offering, so that I wouldn't be afraid of the outside. So grateful to you. There's this other piece that you talk about. You're very intentional about using the word reconnect when you describe your work. You've even already started to share some of that in your story just now about thinking about the history of 1924 and reviving this program. So honoring both kind of the tragic and triumphant legacy of Black, Indigenous, and people of color in the outdoors. How do you, what are some other ways that you bring that legacy into your work and into your programs?
Yeah, I mean, one of the big things across our programs, we try to honor a more expansive definition of what the outdoors means. I'm not trying to knock other outdoor programs. I think there's amazing programs that are doing the work, right? But there's this model out there that's like, you know, let's be real. Take kids from urban environment X, plop them in the mountains, and then like they're magically healed and plop them back.
Orienteering.
Yeah, right. And that's good. That's good. I mean, I've spoken with some of those kids in those programs, and it's really powerful and beneficial. Right. But for us, we try to imagine and dream more expansively about what the outdoors is. So we say to our kids and our community that the outdoors starts when you walk outside your house, right? The moment you walk outside and you see grass, you see trees, suppose just see pavement, right? But you look up and you see the sky, right? That is also the outdoors. And so with that, when we think about that word reconnect and honoring that, we really try to honor, again, an expansive definition of what outdoors has looked like in our community. So yes, we take kids backpacking in Colorado. They go to Big Bend National Park, which is like one of our only dark sky areas in the whole US. But then our kids also like do yoga at MLK Park here on our east side. They also have done community gardening in their local neighborhood. They've kayaked the San Antonio River. And so they have the opportunity to do a myriad of things. And with that, when we think about that word reconnect and honoring this legacy and history, right? We really try to honor the fact that yes, the Buffalo Soldiers and Harriet Tubman are amazing legacies, right? In the outdoors. Harriet Tubman was this naturalist. A lot of people just see her as a freedom fighter, but I'm like, no, she was a wilderness first responder. She was a guide. She was doing all those things. We joke with our kids all the time when they're like, I don't know about this outdoor thing. This ain't for Black folks. And we tell them, we're like, how do you think Harriet Tubman did that whole thing? It wasn't like she rolled up in a Toyota Corolla. It was like, get in, let's go. It didn't work like
Corolla.
Yeah. So it's funny, the kids start connecting dots. They're like, oh, wait a second. Like she was doing the things that we're doing right now and hiking. So we speak about our history while we're hiking and in the outdoors, but then also we honor those legacies and we honor like the elders in our community that have gardens at their house, right? And we say, see, you have been outdoors. When you're touching this soil, this earth, this is the same process that your granny and granddaddy did, right? And so we really try to honor both of those legacies and really show our kids that, we as Black people have been in this space for centuries, right? And don't let that message that we don't do these things like really permeate in your mind too much.
I think a lot about the ways in which our work has evolved because we've all been facing this big, thorny thing that none of us could have predicted around. Well, some of us could have predicted, but the world couldn't have predicted this pandemic that is still kind of ongoing. How has the pandemic impacted your work thinking about outdoor education in particuer?
Yeah, you're right about the no one could have predicted, except for the people that randomly invested in stock in Zoom. So golden ticket right there. But I mean, I think it's been really powerful that they've already done studies and statistics that obviously during the pandemic, a lot more folks are going outdoors. We have a pretty deep connection with our Texas state parks, and they've been sharing that with us. Some of their higher ups are like, yeah, they received an influx of people going to state parks because, you know, gyms were closed, everything was closed, but
Yeah.
the outdoors was, as some folks say, was open, right? Outside was open. So I think what's been powerful is that, you know, twofold. One, you know, when we first relaunched programming in 2021 in the spring, it was powerful to see like many of our kids just needed that space just to like exhale, to be out of the house, but most importantly, just to build human connections. And so that's been really important. And then for our summer camp, especially Camp Founder Girls, that was a really powerful space. Now, like we received an inquiry, literally had a wait list of over 35 families. And this was in summer 2021, we only served 70 youth. And so we had 35 families on the wait list. So that was like literally 50% more increase in applications. And so it's been really beautiful to see more people are interested in the outdoors. But mainly our kids were just really want to just get out the house, experience something new. They were so eager to go on camping trips, and just seeing them like running around and playing after many of them have been in just the house of their neighborhoods for months on months was really powerful. And then lastly, I'll just say our schools. A lot of schools have been reaching out to us, which has been really powerful, to ask us about our work or just, you know, brainstorm and dream with us about ways that they can connect their students and youth to nature also.
I love that. And I hope you are lovingly looking for consulting fees for all of those phone calls.
Yeah, I just finished an email earlier about that. So yes,
just,
I'm on it.
Just lovingly, just a little stipend for all of that brain power that you are offering to all those great organizations. Yep, I see you, Arian. Booked, paid, and busy. Okay. You're hinting at the fact that, you know, the pandemic meant that there was even more of a demand and a need and an acknowledgement around the work that you're doing. And we think a lot, us and Barclays, we've been so lucky to have worked closely with these 12 leaders for the last few weeks. And we talk quite a bit about the isolating journey of being an entrepreneur. One of the sessions that we worked on with our 12 pitchers was centered around wellness in particular. So what advice can you offer to our leaders with regards to being well in the midst of being booked, paid, and busy, or in the midst of trying to build out an ecosystem and an organization beyond, you know, one person with a great idea in a community? What advice can you offer?
Yeah, a couple pieces. I actually saw a post literally like 2 hours ago from one of my favorite up and coming rappers, La Russell. I don't know if some of y'all follow him on Instagram. He's a really good follow, really creative rapper with how he like markets himself and does things. But he had a post that basically said like, who you're in the car with is just as important as where you're going, right? So it said some other words in there, but yeah, I can go on this page and see, but who you're in the car with is just as important as where you're going. And so I would say twofold. One, surrounding yourself with folks that are going to like push you in good, healthy ways, but also like and remind you of like how good you're doing, you know? You like a lot of times as an entrepreneur, there's so many people. I'm a sports guy, so like call it, you know, armchair quarterbacks or Monday morning quarterbacks, like the folks afterwards, like you should have do this, and it happens a lot, honestly, in our community too, with like elders that I love, where I meet with them and they're like, why aren't you doing this, and this? Or you set up your website this way. And I'm like, look, I'm trying my best, okay? It's one of me and all these ideas, right?
Precisely.
So it's been beautiful for me that as like, I feel like the universe surrounded me folks that can give me that, you know, like sometimes constructive piece of like, you can do it, you got this, you can do it. Yes, it might be a couple extra hours at a coffee shop, you got this. And also sometimes say, hey, have you rested lately, bro? Like, have you like, when have you cared for yourself? One of my good friends, who's also an entrepreneur, who just launched a Black travel magazine, Buddy Pass, you should check that out on Instagram, shared this, and he said this as an entrepreneur. He's like, man, if I could say one thing, now I feel like I was so mean to myself when I started, right? Like I did not give myself a lot of grace. And so that's the second thing is like, you know, we know you're passionate about the work, you're fired up about the work, but don't forget to give yourself a lot of grace. You're learning new things. Like I didn't know, I was a teacher and an education coach. I had no idea what a 990 was and filling that out, all these different things, like tax stuff. I didn't get into the work for that, right? So just know that like, you're gonna learn a lot of things. There's 8 million things you can like discover, especially as a nonprofit leader or for-profit leader, but give yourself the grace of like time, the abundance of love, of self-love, of self-care, and whether that's time in the outdoors, which I would advocate for, or it's just time with friends or just time with yourself. give yourself that gift because it's so important. Because remember, it's not a sprint; it's going to be a marathon, and that thing is going to be super important to fuel you along the way.
Alex, I appreciate you so much. I'm thinking about this line about it's not just like where you're going, but it's who you're in the car with. Can you say it one more time?
Yeah, it's not just where you're going, but who you're in the car with. Yeah,
there it is.
And then
there
basically
it
that's
is.
who's in the car with you. Yeah,
I think that's really well put.
He's from the beat. So yeah,
that is really well put. We have a few questions from the audience, and I'm going to pose a couple of them to you in a second. But before we let you go, at Echoing Green, we try and elevate our people. And so I just wanted to say to the crowd, Alex has an incredible TED Talk, and we will drop it in the chat because it's a must watch. And he talks about what it will take to recolor the outdoors. So I want to make sure that you have that resource about Alex's vision and work. Alex, if you could say just one thing about what's next for your organization while I pull up these audience questions, would love to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, we always joke that our demand is higher than our supply, which is a good problem to have, right? Basic economics, right? So for us, we're really looking to expand our work. I mentioned our summer Camp Founder Girls. This past summer, we had 153 campers. We got our first international inquiry for next summer, which is exciting. We had campers from 12 different states. So we're really looking to hopefully expand camp. We only do one week session. We're hoping to expand to 2 in the coming years, which is exciting. Alongside just expanding new programs and expanding our reach, especially in our home state of Texas. So those are our big things that we're dreaming up and visioning right now.
Congratulations, Alex. We continue to root for you. And a couple of questions from the crowd. One question from one of your fellow founders: how important is flexibility for impact founders, for social innovators? How important is flexibility?
Yeah, I mean, the magic word of the pandemic, right, was pivot. Remember that? We're going to pivot, make adjustments, we're going to pivot. That and like, can you see my screen, right? So those two things. I think it's super important. You're always going to be learning. I think community work isn't linear. It's very cyclical, right? So it's coming back to this like practice of ideas, practice of community, practice of building trust capital. For us, for youth organizations, like some of our first youth are aging out right now. So we have a newer group of youth and they have different desires and hopes. So I think flexibility is super important. I've heard this like phrase that, like your mission and your past, don't let it be like, just like a place where it's something that's like a horse analogy. It's like don't let it just be a place where you just like sit and you stay there. Let it be something where it can guide you, but it's not something that's going to keep you stagnant. So I'll really encourage you to always be flexible, like continue to listen to the participants and the folks that you're working alongside and serving. And change is inevitable. Change is, Octavia Butler, if you read her, like she talks about change is a natural thing and it's okay to evolve and change your ideas along the way.
Love it. A whole bunch more questions. 3 best practices for leveraging your network to scale your team.
Oh, that's a good one. 3 best practices for leveraging your network to scale your team. Okay, first one is I'm gonna peep game with you. There are some universities that have free internship programs with nonprofits. So before you actually feel like you need to create a new position, I would recommend, this isn't like absolute advice, but one path you could take is actually creating like a smaller internship to pilot that position, right? To make sure it's what you need to figure out, oh, actually, this is something that maybe an intern can do, or something like that needs to be full-time, or it's actually something that's part-time. So look at your local, especially small universities, private universities. We have a partnership here with Trinity. We get free interns and it's nice to kind of pilot different positions creatively with that. So that's the first, to like leverage your local community network. I would say second, like definitely take on, if folks are willing to do stuff like in-kind donations, or you have a big foundation that you're partnering with, really, really important to like take their advice also. We have a partnership, I'm not gonna lie, with North Face, right? So we've asked North Face and a few of our partners to say, hey, we need help brainstorming marketing stuff. Can you come in? And obviously you do marketing really well. And so it's been helpful to brainstorm alongside them to figure out how do we refine expanding our team? And then they've provided some additional support to ensure that happens. And then, yeah, just being like relentless and just like manifest and put it out there. If you're like, I want, my goal this past year, I said, I want to expand our team to 3 full-time people. I wrote it down. I really believe in just writing things to manifest them. And I had it on the forefront. I shared it with all the donors. I'm like, we're trying to expand our team. And, we got our first 6-figure grant this past year to expand our team, and hired on a person who interned with us for 2 years for a full-time role. So I would really encourage you to do those things.
Alex, with all of the sage advice, as Arian pointed out in the chat, we thank you not only for the advice, but for your candor to say, I tried a whole bunch of times. My first idea is different from my current idea. It's not just where we're going, but the company that I'm keeping that's helping me to stay well in this journey. You just peppered us with a whole bunch of good nuggets. And we are so grateful to you. All right, our judges are in. They're here.
Uh-oh.
A decision has been reached. So I think this is the moment where Sandman Sam brings us off of the stage, and I pass the baton back to
me, Dr. Hut.
Great.
Hey, only a few people got that reference. That was really good. Yeah, so yes, thank y'all again so much.
Oh, thank you too. Thank you, Alex. I'm inspired not only by just your leadership, but also I'm gonna take a hike, figuratively and literally also. I'm gonna dust off my hiking shoes, which are just a pair of old Chucks, but that'll work for now, right? It'll work for now.
It will.
Dr. Asage, Alex, thank you all so much for a powerful conversation on the impact our connection to nature can have on the health and happiness of our youth and ourselves. I think I would say the conversation underscores the reality that the work of creating thriving bodies, minds, communities, and futures is all interconnected, and it requires founders leading systems change work in all different types of sectors, right? And with that, I'm eager to invite our judges back to share the winners of our pitch competition, 2022 Social Innovation Challenge pitch competition. Judges, please turn on your cameras, and we'll bring you on stage to announce the winners. Danielle, Christine, Jordan, welcome back. We're pretty certain that was a very, very challenging discussion. We did not envy you. And we thank you for the thoughtfulness and energy, and we really can't wait to hear your decisions.
Thanks, Ricardo. Thank you, everybody. It really was such a hard deliberation. Everyone, we know what it's like to also be on the other side of this as well, and just really wanted to thank everyone for showing up and letting us in to the work that you're doing. That is really really for us to be able to experience and witness all the work that's being done here. It's an honor. I'm going to announce the first category and then turn it over to Danielle, and then I'll also announce the final category. So in the first category, the winner is Arian Long of Femley. Congratulations.
All right, so it's over to me. The first place winner in the second category of Thriving Communities is Ali Anderson with Feed Black Futures.
And in the third category, the winner is Ahmed Bador of Narratio. Congratulations, everybody. Congratulations.
Judges, thank you so much. Again, we know that was a very difficult decision you all had to make. Congratulations to our winners. Incredible job, everyone, all of our participants. And as a reminder, our 3 first place winners, each of these leaders will receive a $20,000 award to deepen their impact. However, it's not over yet, right? Now it's time for the Viewer's Choice Award. And this is where we now turn to you, the audience, for your direct say. This evening, you will have a chance to choose one additional leader to receive $18,000. Now remember, category winners you just heard are not eligible for the Viewer's Choice Award. Now, audience, go back for a moment and reflect on your notes. Think about the pitch that you found the most compelling, the one that resonated with you the most, and prepare to select the leader you'd like to receive this special award. Thinking about it? Take a few more seconds, lock that in. And now, at this moment, we are now ready to launch the poll. So let's vote. At this time, audience, you should see a window pop up with a poll listing the 9 eligible leaders and the organizations that are up for the Viewer's Choice Award. We're going to play a bit of music, and you now have about 60 seconds to briefly reflect on your final choice and select that leader you'd like to vote for, and then click the submit button. Here we go. I have about 30 seconds, y'all. Go ahead and make a selection if you have confidence. All right, everyone. Looks like it was a tight one. That was a tight one, tight vote. And we are excited to announce that we have a winner for the 2022 Viewers' Choice Award. And congratulations to, we should have a drum roll. Congratulations. Sorry, so much anticipation. I'm sorry. Congratulations to Emelohi Uribe, founder of Represent Black Girls, for taking home our 2022 Social Innovation Challenge Viewers' Choice Award. Congratulations, everybody. Thank you to our audience for making the time to vote. Really putting a lot of thought and reflection into it. It was a tight one, like I said. Can we just give it up one more time for all of our winners and pitch participants by again showing some love? And remember that all of our participants are walking away with something this evening, right? Everyone's gonna walk away with some grant award to help deepen their impact. And we're just so incredibly proud to create this platform to highlight their as you saw, their work, their very, very important work. You know, leaders, audience, I'm left with a deep feeling of appreciation for being witness to the brilliance of our leaders this evening. Thank you to our audience and everyone who joined us. A special thank you to our judges, Tokes, Danielle, Jordan. I was fortunate enough to work with our 12 leaders over the past month, and beyond being left inspired regularly by their passion, their questions, their commitment to their missions, and to their communities, we close our time together leaving with a powerful and timely reminder. And that reminder is this: a better future is not only possible, it's already unfolding before us. We just heard from 12 leaders who are actively shaping a future where all communities have an opportunity to thrive. And there are countless more in your community right now who are also doing the work, seen and unseen, to ensure that this thriving future continues to unfold. These leaders are hope in the flesh. And it's with these leaders at the forefront, a thriving future is ours to make. Thank you all again. Please stay connected to Echoing Green. We always have exciting updates and events where social justice and social innovation intersect. So stay tuned. Subscribe to our newsletter and follow us at Echoing Green on all major platforms. Thank you so much and have a great rest of the evening.
Hey! Woo! Woo!
When I'm far away.